Now, if you can go on to the agenda items. The first item is a public forum on homeless outreach efforts in Lodi.
Yes. First of all, thank you all for coming out this evening. This is, the beginning of this is started from a conversation regarding the homeless feedings at Lawrence Park. There was some discussion as far as when this started back in 2007, 2008, whether originally the intent, I'm sure, was to reach out, to have connect with the homeless population in a manner of trying to assist them. I know when the Hand Up organization was started in 2008, specifically it was a group of concerned churches and citizens and representatives of the community to do what was possible to help those that were honestly wanting to find a way off of the street. In many instances, folks that have a desire to get off of the street, to get out of that situation, they would encounter roadblocks or hurdles that would end up setting them back. So the Hand Up group, I know that they looked seriously at what could be done to help mentor folks, assist them with getting the documentation they needed, providing them with some source or location where they could receive mail, all in an effort to try and again assist them get to where they wanted to go. So I have reached out to a number of agencies, organizations, folks that were identified as involved with the feedings at Lawrence Park. We have folks, representatives from Salvation Army here, and we have Dennis Butner from Behavioral Health, San Joaquin County Behavioral Health. The gentleman who's out in the parks, in the streets, in the back alleys, he knows each and every one of these folks personally. So, you know, with that, would like just to open it up for discussion. If there's anyone that would like to come forward and start this off.
But I'm Karen West with the Salvation Army. I'm the shelter director there. I think that, you know, we're talking about, you know, this, he said the 10-year plan. Well, I've been in meetings about that 10-year plan, and it is obvious that that 10-year plan needs to be maybe expanded a little. When you make a plan, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen with the economy or the housing market or this kind of thing, and that has been a big issue with us. We have very good success in getting people off the streets. It's a long-term process. Sometimes our clients may come from right off the streets, and 2.5 years later they're finally in their own house through different stages of our program. And as he said, one of our biggest issues is getting them off the streets into our facilities because of the lack of detox in our communities. We used to be able to do that. Maybe there were county detoxes or places that would take them in. That just isn't happening anymore. The funding is not there, or whatever the reason is. I don't know, you know, what the solution to that is, but that would be one of our biggest roadblocks in doing more good than we do right now. As far as, you know, and maybe we have a little bit of transitional housing, but not enough. There's always that stage in between. There's never, you know, there's a step that there isn't a solution for in the middle, and you can't go from step 4 to step 8 comfortably. A lot of people fall in that crack. So that would be my biggest concern as far as our plan to end any kind of homelessness anytime in the future, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it may be, is that first step and then the last step. Those are two places where we really need some, I don't know what the solution is, but some assistance.
Karen, would you step back for a second and give us some basics as to what the problem is in terms of homelessness in Lodi and how many people there are that you know of and what the Salvation Army is doing about it? I think that would be helpful to us. I think that would be very helpful.
I think that, you know, we have the homeless count, like you said, every 2 years. I think that count is dependent on how many people will come out to that. When I look at those numbers, I think that is as good a picture as we can get, but probably not a picture of those that travel through town the rest of the year. As far as, I think it's probably, I don't know, I can't even conjure to guess. I see them coming in and out of our facility on a regular basis. This last year has been really bad, a lot worse than it has in the 10 years that I've been there. As far as new people coming through town, maybe I don't see them again after a while, but as far as them coming through town, there's a larger itinerant group that has come through this last year. As far as what services, ways that we can help, is we have different stages of program. We have right off of the streets they can come and shower and get clothing and food. At that point, maybe they're looking to go into a program, whether it be a program to get off drugs and alcohol, or a program just to get life skills, or whatever those situations are. Once they go to program, we actually have a culinary arts training program that they can come back to if that's something they choose. That's a big help in our community because of the fact that some people, I know I worked under the table when I was in that situation. I worked under the table for so many years I didn't have references. So a new training program like this would have helped. Then they can go on to another stage where they can get some of their legal issues taken care of and stay there and volunteer, but have a safe harbor to stay in while they take the money that they make for maybe a job that they've gotten. Build up some references, build up some time in a job, that kind of thing. It's called support team transitional housing. Then at that point they can go, we actually have a men's transitional housing department that they can go to and stay there while they save up some money and get into their own places, maybe get a car, maybe get a better job, maybe get some promotions, those kind of things. So we can go start to finish. It's a long process though. And housing, the amount of people that need that in the small facilities that we have in the area is just not enough. That's all there is to it. So.
I have a question. How many beds do you have at your facility?
We have 28 beds for women and children. We have 20 beds for men who are in our support team in transitional housing. We have 10 beds for people who are waiting to go into programs. We have 20 beds for our overnighters, people that just come in for the night and aren't really looking for help. They just need a place to stay till they figure out what they're going to do. And we have 8 beds in our culinary arts program.
So when you talk about programs, are they Salvation Army programs, or do you partnership? Are you partnering?
It depends on what their needs are. Some people, our programs are in different places in their work therapy programs, so if they're unable to work, we may help transition them into another facility somewhere, another program. Women and children, we have 2 different types. We have one that they can actually take their children with them or go as a couple. We have one that is strictly for a couple that are strictly for women. We have some that are men and women. There's just different. Also, if they can't go to a work therapy program, maybe some of them have disability or this kind of thing. We try to find some program for them.
So, but you look outside of Salvation Army for those programs on
Yeah.
part?
Most people that come to our facility are coming there and they know what that is, that what our programs are, and they know they're going to qualify. A lot of our people come from the court system. They're being requested to find a program. So they'll find that their officers or the courts will help them find a program that suits their needs.
My name is Gary Kellum. I'm with the Wise Men and Wise Women, and we're associated, that's a ministry out of Grace Presbyterian Church in Lodi. We've been going out to the park at Lawrence Park for going on 5 years now. We're the ones that feed on Friday at noon. A couple things I'd like to point out. Your figures on the homeless are pretty low. I think you're looking at maybe 180 to over 200 right now. And you also have people, and I'm not counting people that are necessarily living in cars and about ready to lose their homes. And our intent when we went out there was never to save the world or save everybody that's out there, because that's an impossible thing to do. We have seen some success, as some of the other people in this room can attest to, where people that were really bad are now have jobs, their own cars, some of them are getting married, and so on. I mean, it's not a great number, but one's better than none. Our intention to go out there initially, and it still is, and it will continue to be, is to feed people that are hungry. We also minister to them somewhat spiritually, maybe not enough sometimes, but it's a tough battle because you've got people that you're trying to get off the street, And quite frankly, a lot of them don't want it. They really don't want to get off. And then there's others that are frustrated with the system and no place to stay. I mean, you look around Lodi, and I know that the financial difficulties we're all facing, but there's more empty buildings in the town than there are people living in homes, I think, out here. And there should be some way, somehow, some of this could be opened up to some of these people that really want to get off the street. I mean, you can imagine getting up every morning and have nothing to look forward to and have to continue to go through the same process day after day after day, and they're not all alcoholics. So, I mean, yeah, to clarify that right away. There's a lot of them, of course, but there's a lot of good people in this room that we have gone along and sent them over to, like, Gravity. I've sent a lot of people to Gravity Church. I've sent a lot of people down to Salvation Army. So there's a lot of good programs in the town, but it just isn't enough to accommodate the amount of people. We're also getting a lot of the homeless are dumped from Stockton right in here. They bus them in and dump them off. So, it's like an added thing. Plus you got your people that are coming through on a regular basis, maybe going north or south and stop off for a few days. I don't know if Karen mentioned, I think you can only be housed in their facility up to 58 days out of the year. So that kind of leaves a few extra days left over. Where do you go? What do you do? Can you get your whole life straightened out in 58 days? Probably not.
What do you have in mind, Gary, for solving some of these problems? And why is it that we are not able to do that?
Well, the only thing I would come up with is what Joseph said about housing. I mean, that's got to be one of the most important issues. It's pretty hard to get your life straightened out when you got rain coming down on you at night and you're freezing to death, And a lot of these people are veterans. I mean, and a lot of them that are coming out there, they're just people that are hungry. Maybe they don't have 3 squares a day. We were feeding, when we started out 5 years ago, 20 to 25 people. We're averaging, in a good day, like a nicer day in weather, upwards to 80 people every Friday. And on a low, about 40. So that's quite a few people.
And this is all at Lawrence Park?
Lawrence Park, and that's only one day. It's on a Friday. And I know there's other organizations here that go out on every other Sunday or twice a month, and I'm hearing the same numbers, and Gravity and some of the other churches, and we did so as well. Tuesday night church in the park, and there was upwards to 100 people there. So that's a lot of people. So that's something that just thought I'd share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Might be a little repetitive. David Hill, pastor at Grace Presbyterian Church. One thing, Bob, you said was the goal was to help these people with the feeding to kind of get going and get on with their lives. That's not exactly been our goal. I mean, our goal has been to feed people in the short term so they have food for the day. For most of them, today is the only thing that matters for them. We have ideas and goals for them. We'd like to see all that happen, but our thing, and Gary didn't mention, but we've actually, under Gary's leadership and Dennis's and Doug Cheney and other people of our, that's kind of formed somewhat of a coalition within, and we work with other churches too, but specifically Panera's restaurant, La Petite restaurant, Da Vinci's restaurant, they all provide every week. One of our members who's passed into God's presence now, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, Clown Man, Bill Henderson, had a vision about, he watched Panera one Sunday night just dump all their food into dumpsters. And he had a thought about, well, what happens if we took that food and used it to feed people on the streets? And that was part of the vision of where we've come from, in terms, we thought that was, from a faith viewpoint, we thought that was sort of, God-led in some ways for us to move in that direction. And we did, and we do. In fact, we continue every Sunday to go by and pick up 200 or 300 pounds of bread and sweets and all kinds of things that we could do. And Panera has partnered with us because they don't want to just throw their food out. They want to do something with it too. So we use that as one of the main sources of food for our Friday lunch. And boy, Da Vinci's has been solid every week with all kinds of food that they've provided, and La Petite as well. So there's been some interesting partnering in that situation, which is again, short term, and I think we were here probably to talk about the long-term situation, and I think housing, obviously, like we'd agree, is probably the biggest thing. But, you know, there's a point about these folks that are struggling about even to be able to manage a house and take care of a home situation. There's just some basic, I'm sure Salvation Army offers some kind of, you know, good programs or something like that to even help somebody take care of that. But I'm not sure in the economic day that we're in how we're going to be able to facilitate, literally, facilities for people to stay in. And obviously, that would be one of the long-term goals. But our particular thing that we've been doing at Grace has just been helping people at least once a week, if not a couple times a week, because some of our people help out on Tuesday nights as well, and some other times during the week, to help them just get through that day. And we built friendship.
My name is Ted Van Allen. I also work for the Salvation Army. I work at the Social Services Office. My title is a Business Administrator. I would like to start off by offering just a couple of points of clarification. First and foremost, our shelter facility is a clean and sober facility. The number one reason we're a clean and sober facility is that we offer a program for those who want to recover from their addictions. And it is far more difficult to do so when you're surrounded by something, or in this case, substance or using, versus having a clean facility. So that's the reason why we have a clean and sober facility. So to stay overnight, we do require that you take a breathalyzer test so that you don't come in on the influence of alcohol or drugs. That is for the clients who are in the program. Secondly, we do have a 56-night stay limit, but that doesn't stay just 56 nights. Especially in inclement weather, if it's very cold or wet, clients can come in and request an extension and stay beyond that time frame. And we do have an overflow policy. Even though we have 82 beds, we can house more than that if needed. So on a given night where it's really cold, our bed count is full, we can take overflow into our dining area to provide more than 82 people in a given night situation. We also, through the Office of Emergency Services and FEMA, have the means, if needed, to deal with a disaster situation, both with cooking meals and housing. So we are prepared on that manner for something greater than what we are currently facing. On the social services side, I get the privilege to see many of our clients who are on the edge, where they have a house and a home and possibly a job, but they're at the edge of homelessness. And my observation through the social services and the food bank, I see that the situation our economy is facing, you may see 80 to 100 or even 200 people at the park, but it's greater than that. Our social services side serves approximately 8,900 to 9,000 people from our community. That's 15% of our population comes to us and would classify at least as low income, if not very low income. Many of them come where they have 4, 6, 8 people in the home and one person's working. Used to be 2 or 3 people working, now it's 1, if that person is working full-time. We have many who have either had job reduction or lost jobs, who are still in their home, but barely. And we have programs at our social services to assist with fuel, utilities, rent, and food assistance. The priority of our food bank is to take the edge off their struggle. If they have to pay their bills and their rent, that leaves almost nothing for food, so we can at least make sure they have food in the home to not go hungry. Our dining hall at our shelter facility is open. There's no restriction. We don't have a set limit of number of meals we cook. We don't have any requirements. You can come, you can be under the influence. You can come however your state is and eat every single night. So we do guarantee for whoever wants it, a hot meal every night, period. No restrictions. It's the same every single day of the year. So they can get one meal. Those who stay at the shelter get breakfast. So if they do stay, they get 2 meals. We don't provide lunches, at least not at this time. So that is another offer. So if they want to eat, they can come and eat between 5 and 5:30 every single night. I am the statistician, so I see our numbers. And reviewing last year's numbers, even though we house up to 82 people, we've seen over 400 unduplicated people stay at our shelter. So even though the count showed 68 sheltered, 26 unsheltered, that is just a point in time. That is not the big picture. Also, we do serve a significant number of non-Lodi residents who, they may be in Lodi, but they're not from Lodi. They're homeless, they have no place to stay, maybe living in a car, tent, or in a park, but they weren't from Lodi. They just happened to be in Lodi because Lodi is a great place to be. It is much more safe to be in Lodi than it is to be in Stockton. Our facilities are much more prepared to provide the services we provide in the Salvation Army stance in a high quality manner. If you have not yet done so, we invite you to come to our facilities, both our food bank on Lockford Street or our shelter on Sacramento Street. If you come tour, you'll see that our facility is clean, well kept, secure at all times. We have someone on our front desk 24 hours a day. It's a secure facility. If the police department were able to share, we have many times had clients brought to us in the middle of the night. So we are open to those in need. But it is a difficult situation. Even though there are 150 to 200 homeless at this point, that doesn't mean that that will still be that way in a month. Maybe 20 or 30 of them will find housing, and we'll get more coming into us from outside of our city, mainly from our county, but many from out of state. Like it was said, there's a large itinerant group who are passing through. We are an ag city, and therefore we have a large amount of farm workers, agricultural workers who come without a home, maybe with a car, maybe without, who are looking for seasonal work, and once the seasonal work is over, they may move on or they may stay. So we do have a large portion of that. We do at our social services serve over 40% of our clients are Hispanic. So that is a significant portion. And I wouldn't begin to offer a solution for that population on housing situations. We are working at addressing the issue, but it was pointed out that for those who want to come for help, we're there to help. If they come and they are under the influence but they want a program, we don't just kick them out. We keep an eye on them. We have people who stay with them or monitor their situation until they're ready to stay in our facility. When they're ready to step into a program, they want it, and therefore it is far more successful. If you look at our recidivism rate, it's small, which is the #1 reason why our rehabilitation centers, one specifically in Stockton, has such a good success rate. It's because of our program restrictions has a greater success when they come wanting to make change. But it's very difficult to want to make change when there isn't much hope. And that is something we have found. Many of our clients just lack hope. When you have a hopeless state of life, you're really not ready to make anything other than just sit there and wonder what's going to happen next. Even if you have a home and a job, you can still be hopeless. And that is a difficult thing to provide an answer for. Whether it be a meal offered, a home housed, dealing with that internal issue of hopelessness is a difficult situation to address. And if they don't want help because of their hopeless feeling, they're not going to come for it. I think the #1 representative to talk on that would be Dennis if he chose to speak on. But he sees every single person there that will talk to him. He knows their situations. He could attest to those who want help and those who don't feel they could be helped. And that is difficult.
Hi, my name's Dan Randall, and I'm the director of the community project Uptown Thrift. I've been running that facility for about a year now. It was started by an organization that I'm also a part of called Unity Project. I see probably, when we first started out, we probably saw about 10 people a day, and now on a regular basis we see 50 to 80. 80 is more like a solid number. We do a lunch program there between 11 and 1:30. You can also get clothes. What we found out is that we were taking clothes out to help, to clothe them. and we'd be putting them on the park bench, and they would tear them up, and then obviously you'd find them under, 99 Bridge somewhere or something. So we set up dressing rooms, and what we found out in that is they get to come in and actually pick out clothes, try them on, and then now all of a sudden, since ownership, they actually want to take care of them and keep them. So that's, just one of the, it's just little things like that that help. I listen to everybody, and I'm involved with everybody in here. I've talked with everybody, I've dealt with everybody in here. I mean, I really love what the Salvation Army's doing, with the dinner and the breakfast at night, and that's why we came in to supply the lunch thing. We work with Gravity. Everybody in here is going after it, but the one thing that came to my heart while we were standing here talking, and that's how I operate, is from my heart, is we're all people. We're still people, and we got to take care of people. I mean, look around this room. If each and every one of us just reached out to one person, you can make a difference. I'm just going to share a quick story with you, and I'm really done. There was a guy, Kevin Miller, that got off a bus. He was supposed to be going to Stockton, and he fell asleep. He ended up getting off in Lodi, and as soon as he got off the bus in Lodi, there was a lady sitting there at the bench. She said, they feed across the street. You look like you're hungry. Go across there and get yourself something to eat. And so he came in, and he was a little distorted, like little, maybe been in a car accident or something like that, tattooed, all to death, but all intents and purposes, not the kind of person you just want to approach and talk to. But one of my guys that worked there, and that's what I did when I took over, is I took this core group of people that we have there, and they all come from community service, WorkNet, GR, and I took them and I raised them up, and I trained them to be compassionate. I trained them to look for specific things in people. And so when this guy came in, one of my volunteers there came up and he said, "Hey Dan, I think you need to talk to this Kevin guy." And so I said, "Okay, Kevin, come on in. What's going on?" And I just took the time. I'm just being a person. I'm just listening to somebody. That's what they want to know. They want to know that somebody cares. And I said, "What's going on? Tell me your story." And he said, "Man, I was supposed to be in Stockton. I fell asleep on the bus. The bus driver let me go, bada, and I ended up here. The lady across the street said that, you feed across here, and I'm homeless." And the first thing that hit my mind is, oh my gosh, I'm homeless. Because I've been at the very start of this thing. I was with Zion Christian Fellowship over on Tokay and Central when it first began, when there were 6 people in the park. When Caesar Serta came back and said, "Hey, I think we have a problem. We need to address it. God is speaking to my heart right now." And Normie Zell and Caesar said, "Well, let's start this thing." And it started. And so, I went through that whole thing, so I know. So I'm sitting there talking with Kevin. I go, "Oh my gosh, another homeless person." And I said, "So what's going on? Don't you have any family?" He said, "Well, I'll tell you what was going on. I was living in Stockton. I was getting my Social Security check. The people I was renting a room from took my check, kicked me out, and now I'm homeless." He had his little backpack with him. I said, "You got any family?" He says, "The only family I got is in Missouri." And I said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Have you talked to him lately?" He goes, "No, I got a dad over there, and he's willing to take care of me. I haven't seen him in a lot of years. If we could just be restored, then I believe that my dad will look after me." So I took him right across the street. I just felt led to take him right across the street to the bus station. I said, "Let's find out how much a ticket costs." And it came back at $214. Well, I'm sitting here telling you, I know what it takes to operate that thrift store, and all that thrift store does is it supplies us the income to feed, clothe, and do whatever we can. Bus passes, IDs, you name it, we'll do it. If we can do it, we'll do it. So it came back at $214, and I was like, wow, that's a whole day in our store, But I felt led to take care of this guy, and so I did. I was just a person being a person to another person, loving on them a little bit, having compassion for their situation. And I said, "We're going to send you to go be with your dad." And so he had a little bit of time to kill before he got to go over there with his dad. So I brought him back and let him sleep in the office or whatever. And I'll tell you what, when he got up, he had such a grateful heart and was just so appreciative of everybody in there. He found every single person that he thought was affiliated with that store and just thanked them. And I think that's what it is. That's how we're going to change people. That's how we're going to, and we send him off, But I think that's how we're going to begin to affect people in Lodi. I've been a Lodi resident my whole life. My family's been here since 1939. I grew up here. And it's just people being people. It's feeding people. Man, I love what Grace Presbyterian's doing. They're saying, we're going to meet a need today. We're going to take care of you today. What can I do for you today? Can I feed your kid today? Can I clothe your kid today? What's going on? What's your problem? We don't pound people when they come in the door. They come in and they get fed. And we live with them every day. We get to know their names. We get to know their situations. We get to know their families. And then because of that, then in turn they come and they want to share what's going on. They want to share those deep, dark, most hurts with you. And then you get a pour into their lives, and then you see people transform, and they come out of that. One of the biggest struggles, if I can say anything, is a detox place. We don't have it. You know, you can't send them anywhere. They've got to be detoxed before we can send them anywhere. I can't tell you how many people that I've had to put back on the streets, because you know how hard it is, and I'm an ex-addict. I've been clean and sober 12 years. You know how hard it is to tell an addict, hey, you've got to go stay on the streets for 3 or 4 days until you detox, till I can get you into a facility? It ain't going to happen, people. It ain't going to happen. And 80% of the people that are out there in the park are drug addicted and alcoholics. But it's people being people. It's people loving on people. I'm serious. Look around this room. If each and every one had just extended a hand, imagine the difference. That's all I got.
Dan, don't leave yet, just a second, okay? I think that there's a lot of sympathy and empathy for what you say. What concerns me, though, are the people that don't happen to come by your place, or that don't happen to go to Grace Presbyterian, and that don't happen to take advantage of some of the goodwill that is obviously shown by meetings like this, like forums like this. But what do we do about them? What do we do about people that don't make the effort to take advantage of some of the goodwill that's obviously available to them?
You know, it's funny you ask that question. Me and Jason were talking about it at Gravity, and this is just something that's kind of shifted in the last month for us. Is there's the have-nots, the can-nots, and the will-nots, and you just at some point have to accept that, because the can-nots will suck up 80% of your time and 80% of your resources. So there's the can-nots. There's the can-nots out there that just will not. That's what they're gonna do, and there's nothing that's ever gonna change them. But I believe that.
So they're lost, right?
Yeah,
As far as you're concerned.
it's sad. I mean, but that's the way I feel.
How many are there of those are there, do you think?
I don't know, because it just depends. I mean, it comes back to a relationship. I mean, I've seen some of them that I thought, man, I could never reach them. I could never talk to them. I could never, have a conversation with them. But then after 6, 8, 10 months, a year, they're the ones that are sitting in my office, and all of a sudden we're having a conversation, and their lives begin to change. So, I don't know. I'm not the guy that puts that statistic out there. I just know that it's out there. There's the people that I see on a daily basis that just come in and abuse it and take advantage and just, have no desire at all to change. So.